Hello and welcome to ThePrint. This is Akanksha Mishra and you're watching Scientifix, where I will be taking you through this week's top science news from across the world. First up, science has the answer to a very important question. Why does your brain still crave food even after knowing it's full? When a plate of dessert arrives on your table after a heavy meal, why do you start wanting more? Well, according to scientists from the University of East Anglia in England, it is because of how our brain responds to food cues. The desire comes from your brain's reaction to food even after your stomach is full, because the part of your brain that desires food has automatic cues for food rewards. So, in a study, the scientists studied around 76 volunteers who played a food based reward game while wearing EEG sensors that measured their brain activity. They were shown pictures of snacks like chocolates and chips, and they could win these foods during the game. Halfway through the experiment, the volunteers were given a large meal until they said that they felt satisfied. In their behavior, they seemed satisfied and full, and not in the need for more snacks. But their brain signals still reacted the same way when showed pictures of the snacks, meaning that these automatic signals do not stop even after your body is full. In fact, the scientists' paper suggests that these signals could lead to overeating and undue cravings in people. Next up, you might have heard about the common public concern about declining fertility rates in certain countries and how it might lead to labor shortage and economic pressures, especially in high income and developed countries. However, a new commentary by professors from the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis said that this narrative is actually not entirely accurate. Recent data up to 2023 shows that countries with higher Human Development Index scores actually have lower fertility rates, and it is a linear relationship. Fertility's link to increased economic stability might not hold anymore. Even Nordic countries like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark have experienced huge declines in their fertility rates, even though their developmental indices have remained high. The authors argue that we need to look not at increasing fertility rates or boosting births in a country, but at the structure of our populations. Higher education, lower unemployment rates, and rising productivity can offset the effects of a lower fertility rate because the existing population's economic well being will be improved. Next up, a new paper to be presented at the American Academy of Neurology's annual meeting found that football, the American sport, is the leading cause of traumatic brain injuries in young athletes, with soccer coming in a close second. The preliminary study looked at medical records of more than 72,000 children across the United States that are involved in sports like American football, soccer, basketball, cheerleading, and volleyball. They found that 19% of all TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, result from football, and that football is also responsible for most number of repeat TBIs, more than any other sport. The study also looked at how these traumatic brain injuries impacted other aspects of these athletes' lives, from increasing risk of chronic headaches to risk of visual impairment to even anxiety and substance abuse disorders. While the study only relied on clinical data, it can be improved by being supplemented with interviews with both the athletes and the doctors. Finally, our final story is about a breakthrough by the University of Texas at Austin, where scientists grew and harvested chickpeas in simulated lunar soil, or regolith, for the first time. This means that we are one step closer to agriculture in space using space resources. According to their paper in the Scientific Reports journal, the scientists used a simulation of the lunar soil that was collected and brought back in Apollo samples from previous moon missions. They wanted to understand the properties of regolith that could help plants grow and what other additives are required in it. Unlike Earth soil, the moon soil does not have any microorganisms or essential nutrients that are required for plants to grow. But the Texas scientists figured out a way to mix this lunar soil with vermicompost made by earthworms. And they also coated the chickpea seeds with a fungus that would help them increase the absorption of helpful nutrients from the soil. They finally achieved a composition of 75% regolith and 25% vermicompost, where they found that the chickpeas actually grew and were harvestable. But let's not get too happy. The scientists now have to check the nutritional content of these chickpeas and whether they have toxic metal content in them and whether they can even be consumable. That's for next time. Thank you for tuning in.